The content discussed in this podcast is intended for educational and informational purposes only. The views are our own and do not represent any law enforcement agency, employer, or organization. Throughout this episode, we may reference case law, which refers to legal rules and principles established by prior court decisions. These summaries are not legal advice and are presented in simplified terms for general understanding and discussion. While we aim to be accurate, laws can vary by jurisdiction and change over time. Nothing in this episode should be interpreted as legal guidance. You should always consult a qualified attorney for advice related to your specific situation. Welcome back. This week's episode is geared towards the law enforcement inspired topic. If you're not in law enforcement, you could still learn from it. But we gave you a brief preview of it in our Pennsylvania versus Mims case law that we spoke to you guys about. The one we're going to be talking about today is Barnes versus Felix. We feel that it's very important. If you haven't heard this case law yet, you need to research it because it just came out a couple months ago and it drastically could change how you do things at work. Hopefully not, but you need to do your research on it. So with that being said, we're going to read it directly verbatim from the Supreme Court ruling. This is not our opinion. This is what they came out and said that we have to follow. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, in Barnes versus Felix, the U.S. Supreme Court unanimously held that courts cannot restrict Fourth Amendment excessive force analysis to the moment of threat during the police shootings. Instead, courts must consider the totality of the circumstances, including the events leading up to the use of force.
Yes. So I'm going to give you a little overview of the case that went to the Supreme Court to result in this ruling, and then we'll discuss the significance for law enforcement and maybe some tips on what to do now, right? So the case stemmed from the fatal shooting of Barnes during a 2016 Texas traffic stop. Officer Felix clung to the car's running boards and shot Barnes as the vehicle began to move. Lower courts applied a narrow 2-second moment of threat rule. The Supreme Court rejected this, vacating the judgment and remanding full contextual review. So what that means is now the stop is based off the totality of the circumstance for the entire encounter, not just in the moment of threat. So the significance for law enforcement, let's get into that. What does that look like?
Well, you establish a standard now. So, the previous case laws are Graham versus Connor and Tennessee versus Gardner.
Yes, it's reinforcing both the previously stated case laws by Matt. It's reinforcing them both and continuing with the totality of the circumstance. Like that was established in both Graham v. Connor and Tennessee versus Gardner. So this case law is just further affirming that.
Yeah. So it's no longer what happened 2 seconds prior to. It is now the totality of it from start to finish, start to that moment is what it's telling you.
Yes. So we'll get into Graham v. Connor and Tennessee versus Gardner in other episodes where we cover case law on the law enforcement side. But for now, just to kind of keep it simple, what those two cases decide and what this is reaffirming is it balances civilian rights with officer safety. So it's the balance, the totality of everything that's going on. So what do we do now, right? So now that we have given you a brief summary and, the significance of it and the direction the courts have taken, what do we do now?
Yeah, so for me, this is the first time I'm being introduced to this case law. So personally, if I was still working, first thing I would do is dig in. It's literally rules of engagement. So you need to know that and get ahead of it. So I would study the case probably a lot more in depth. But just my understanding as of, right now, just hearing it is it's really just going to help everyone see the big picture instead of, the 10-second clip of cop shooting bad guy or bad guy shooting cop. Get to step back and see what led up to this event, instead of just a little 2-second snippet.
Yeah, so definitely there's more, and just piggybacking on Tony, there's more to this case. You need to read the whole thing. You need to go. It's your responsibility as a law enforcement officer, in my opinion. You know, I've already stated that the most important thing, if you can't do anything else for yourself, is to know, read and know case law. Read and understand case law, right? In this case, dig into it, see all the ins and outs, see what the questions were, right? We're not going to address all of that here. We're just giving you a brief overview and summary of it. But what you can do from here. So say you have questions. Yeah, you can send them in to us and email them, comment. I mean, I know a lot of you call me. We can discuss it. But go to your training division in your department. Ask them, hey, what are we doing with this ruling? Like, what's happening here? Go to your legal division. Ask questions from your legal representation of your department. I know everyone's structured different. I know all departments are different, but go to your resources or go ask questions, right? But what you can do for yourself is train. And I'll say it again, train, right? That, to me, knowing case law, knowing the rules to your job, and then training accordingly, right? So if anything, if this brings up a lot of questions and maybe, future challenges or anything like that, like, definitely we want to have those discussions with you guys. We don't want to do it here because case law, everyone's at different levels of understanding, and I've found that a lot of times when you're trying to do a blanket discussion on a topic, there's so many things that go in it, and if there's someone who possibly isn't at the same level or doesn't understand things, like, those of you who know case law know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, with so many people that listen in our different walks, they're going to have different questions, and you can really get out in the weeds on some stuff. So
discussion's good though.
Yes, have those discussions.
But I would start with the lower case, the lower court, understanding the whole incident in the lower court, and then seeing how the U.S. Supreme Court answers questions left from that court. I'm always open for discussion. We're always really open. Mm-hmm. We are not legal counsel, so you can't take our word for it.
Yeah, we're definitely not attorneys. We're just we're cops that know case law and can give you some direction.
Yeah, so learning it inside and out, just understanding it, will answer most of your questions, I believe.
Yeah, so I just want to do a quick summary to make sure everyone is clear. Like, that's my main priority, especially when we cover case law or anything like that. It's just to make sure I can give a clear, concise representation of a case. So in summary, Barnes v. Felix reinforces that Fourth Amendment excessive force claims must be judged against the entirety of an incident, not merely what occurred in split seconds before the force. Okay. So I'm going to leave you with that. Do your research, dig in, and train. If it's something that makes you feel insecure, listen to it, change it. Every day, you have an opportunity to change your life and your career. So lean into it, change it.